When I first started getting into cold water and cold water therapy, initially it was just about the body. Could I physically get into the cold? Could I challenge myself to walk over the Peak District and then get into a body of water, get dry, walk home? And eventually, rather than being a purely physical practice, it became a mental practice as well. This was exacerbated around lockdown when I was working and living and operating within the same four walls, and those walls started to get progressively closer. This is when I made a commitment to myself that I would go every single week into the cold. One, for the opportunity to get out of the house, but two, just flex that mental resilience and prove to myself that I'm capable of more and not be so bogged down. And this is when it highlighted for me the importance of getting out into nature, and this became part of my routine. And through my adventures, what was initially quite a niche thing and people would think I'm a bit mad for doing it, actually they started reaching out and wondering, oh Owen, that thing you do, can I come too? And the final part of this for me is a spiritual component. When we give ourselves opportunity to come out into nature and just remove ourselves from the hustle and bustle and routine of everyday life, I find that when we come back to nature, we give ourselves capacity to come back to ourselves. And especially with the cold, when you're in and submerged, you're no longer thinking about your mortgage, you're no longer worrying about stresses and strains of life. Give yourself room just to be. And I find especially issues or the things that dwell in my mind prior to getting in the water, once I'm in the water, they dissipate. I give myself space for those thoughts, that anxiety and the worry and stress of life to just move away. It almost dilutes a lot of that anxiety. How much is a lake? Like if you, or not even a lake, like a pond. You know, if you had like a...
It doesn't need to be as big as this.
No.
Just think how far we swim. We don't need a lot.
No. Enough for an inflatable flamingo, that's all I need. And it's important that we give ourselves space within a week to come out in nature. I'm definitely guilty of this. Must be busy, must work harder. There's something more I could be doing with my time, but sometimes the best investment in your time is coming into nature and giving yourselves the capacity just to be. We've spoken about the physical practice. When we get into the cold, there are lots of benefits to getting in the cold. It basically flexes our cardiovascular system. When we get into the water, we get vasoconstriction, so the body is doing its job and it's trying to keep us warm. There are also some downstream benefits with that. The norepinephrine release, which is both a hormone and a neurotransmitter. That's why we can feel quite alert and quite alive. But then there's also the browning of the fat, so the body becomes more efficient at dealing with the cold. So it's something that we can improve. The more we get into the cold, the better we get at it. I've spoken about the mental aspect. You don't always want to get in the cold, but the capacity to get into the cold and flexing that resilience, we can very easily and repeatedly prove to ourselves that we are capable of more. And whether that's coming out to a fantastic lake like this or just getting in a cold shower in the morning, we can prove to ourselves how resilient and strong we are. And finally, the spiritual component, coming out with a community of people, getting into the water. It's almost like a reset, like turning your computer on and off, like a circuit breaker. This is the third aspect of why I do it: mind, body and spirit. Hopefully that gives you some idea about my practice and what my foundational principles look like. They can be different for you and they can be seasonal as well, so you don't always have to come out in the cold. Your practice could be something more formal, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's meditation. But for me, getting out into the cold, into nature, is the culmination of those three pillars: mind, body and spirit. Let me know in the comments how you start to build these practices into your daily or weekly or monthly routine. I'm always interested to hear what you guys do. This life is a beautiful and finite and ultimately precious existence, and we owe it to ourselves to get out into nature or do things that resonate with us deeply. So as I am surrounded by nature, have a flipping awesome day, have a flipping awesome week, and just know that I value you and the support that I get from you. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future. So from me and this little bug, love and peace.